Welcome to Life After Trauma. Hi, Denise. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's been a pleasure just even talking with you, Jess. I'm so glad to be here as well.
Thank you. Let's jump right in here and talk about confidence and clarity. What are some of the invisible ways that unresolved trauma can affect our confidence and clarity in decision making? And how can we call it out with compassion and not shame?
We're just going straight into the deep waters. Let's talk about confidence and clarity before we talk about the second part, because I think everyone throws out confident those words. You see it on the IG reels and TikToks. Everyone's like, I'm every woman. Like, well, we don't have to sit here and recreate a Whitney Houston dance video, but the idea of confidence is the ability to show up emotionally, physically, and spiritually without fear, self pity, or doubt. And the reason why I'm breaking it down from the emotional, the spiritual, right? Because we are physical, we're technically spirits living in physical bodies. I remember one coach said, our earth suits. And I'm not going to go into the religion and all that stuff. That's a whole different conversation. But the fact of the matter is, we have souls and we're interacting. And what happens is when we are not rooted into who we are, not just as women, not just as people, but as spirits that's having connections with our ancestors, to the people that we meet on the streets, to the people that we have met in passing. We're having soul connections. And if we're not being able to have clear conviction on, I have a right to be here, past, present, and future, we will disrupt our ability to relate to ourselves and one another.
Denise, I love what you're saying about the being here, like knowing who you are, being rooted in yourself. I feel like that plays a huge role in confidence. Without having that, it's really hard to have true confidence.
For a lot of us who have survived horrific things, traumatic, stressful things, one of the first things to get robbed is our ability to think, to feel, and to be. So we can't talk about confidence without integrating our body, mind, and soul into the picture.
Yes, 100%.
So we just
Completely.
talked about confidence, right? So now let's talk about the clarity. That's a whole new ball, another ball of wax, right?
Yeah.
I remember I had this client, Jess, and I remember everything she was telling me was a reference from Red Table Talk. And she's like, oh, Jada Pinkett sit there. And I remember earlier last year when Jennifer Lopez came out with her This Is Me Now, and she had the pre-video and then the explanation of the video, and she was all in love, and she was like, all you need to do is heal your inner child. And all those examples told me a lack of clarity. Because like what I mean by lack of clarity is, if you are rooting your truth on people who are still finding their truth, you are lost. We
Yes.
know now in 2025 about what happened with Red Table Talk. A lot of things happened. You know what happened with Jennifer Lopez and their love story with Ben Affleck, Bennifer. We all knew it imploded. But if you are anchored in thinking that I can base my truth based on an incomplete picture, you have no truth. And I see that a lot with women. We take projections of what we see with Meghan Markle and Harry, or what's going on with Paul, like all these situations. And we're thinking that's our guidepost, but we're not realizing that they're human beings navigating sticky situations. And by trying to attach our worth or idea of stability based on ever changing cultural things, we lose ourselves in the process. So when I say clarity, I'm talking about ability to understand yourself, understand the importance of who you are and how you relate in the absence of everyone around you.
Yes. Yes. So how do we get that?
Right? This is the time we exhale, right? Because we're thinking to ourselves like, "Whoa, Denise just gave me a textbook example of confidence and clarity. Like, do I need to make a manifesto about like how I'm supposed to live? Where do I find this online? Where's my listicle?"
That's
And
right.
the thing about it is, Jess, is that there is no clear cut. This is my path to clarity and confidence, but it is a call out to what is influencing you for better, for worse. And I think that's really the main message about this is that I can't give you the answers, but I can call out the things that's messing with your mind, past and present. There was a wonderful book just that came out. It was like a few years ago. It was by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Perry. And it was What Happened to You. I remember some therapists that I was associating with said highly recommended it. The main idea is that the reason why we're confused, the reason why we lack confidence and clarity is because stuff from the past is messing with us today. And if we don't interrupt those patterns, it will and can mess with us in the future.
Yes.
So that's why we're going to talk about the trauma. That's why we're going to talk about the stress. That's why we're going to talk about why you're dating the same guy that's been beating you up beside the head and the only thing is changing his first name.
Mhm. Mhm. We all have those patterns. Yep.
They didn't happen on a it didn't happen in a fluke. I
Mhm.
remember one of the things that my husband told me that I said habitually, and I didn't even realize it in the beginning of our marriage. He said, "Where you going? Where you going?" And I first thought it was from a place of care, but it was really from a place of paranoia and suspicion because I grew up in a family where my father was a blatant philanderer. And in my mind, I thought if you're married, you're stepping out.
Mm.
So there's so many patterns that we as women repeat on loop. And if nobody catches us, we'll just keep trying to manifest what we think will happen based on unhealed wounds.
Yeah. So, what that sounds like to me then is that we need a whole lot of self-awareness and compassion, which ties into the second part of that question. How do you suggest that we embrace more self-awareness? Like how can we become more self-aware?
I love how you mentioned how we can't have the compassion without the self awareness. Because it's like, how can I drive my car blindfolded? Let me put on the blindfold and go to the local store. Let's see how far you'll go. Say that jokingly, right? But that's what we're doing every single day when we get up and we get dressed and we want to find love. We want to grow our businesses. We want to show up and be present. And then we're finding why, in so many ways, nothing's working. I don't know about you, but I remember, I'm old enough to remember when Britney Spears, sorry, dating myself now. She shaved her head, right?
Yeah, I
She
remember
shaved her
that.
head. I remember that.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, she lost her mind. She lost her mind. And so what happened was during that same time frame, they had an interview with Beyonce. There's a reason why I mention all these pop culture for a good reason. Just bear with me. And I remember during the interview, they asked, there was a reporter saying, well, you guys are around the same age and you're not shaving your head and wheeling umbrella towards people. What's happening? And Beyonce said something very interesting. She said, when you have the spotlight on you, it makes you forget what's really happening. And if you don't have anyone around you, and if you don't have a strong sense of self, you'll lose yourself. She
Hmm.
was like in her mid 20s when she said that. And I don't even think I really even understood that when she said that. But the fact of the matter is, for a lot of us, if we have received horrific traumatic situations, studies have shown that you're literally stunted at the age the trauma happened. And I know this for a fact because I remember when I got into hardcore pornography around 14, 15, my mind was kind of stuck in that adolescent. And to
Mhm.
make matters worse, adolescence technically does not end until 25. So I was operating from this idea that I was only as good as what my body did and men are only as good as what they provided sexually. So that awareness was so stunted. I was literally operating on low capacity. I have a soon to be 9-year-old son. It's like asking my 9-year-old son, hey, I want you to figure out quantum mechanics for me. And that was how I was living life. I was trying to adult with a 14, 15-year-old mindset. So part of that awareness is figuring out where am I deficient emotionally and spiritually? Am I more than just my body parts? Are people depending on me or am I heavily depending on people? A lot of trauma survivors have this concept called learned helplessness, where they believe that they can't do anything unless people show up for them over and beyond what's natural because they don't have a sense of self and healthy awareness. Because I know that for a long time. I tried to get my father to believe in me. I tried to get him to acknowledge me. He was busy trying to chase tail. He was busy trying to avoid things. It's kind of hard to get approval from a coward. But that's what a lot of women do. They're looking, especially women who've been abused emotionally, physically, sexually. They're trying to find validation from cowards.
Hmm. Yes. Wow, Denise.
I haven't even got into the compassion yet.
I know.
Yeah.
I am loving it.
So let's talk about compassion, right? That's another overrated thing. Cause like we live in a society, Jess, we live in a society that tells us we're only as good as how much Maybelline products we can get. I
Yes.
remember taking my son to the store. I know, right?
Yes.
I went to this Ulta store. I know you're up north. You guys have Maple
Yeah.
Leafs. Here,
We don't have Ulta here, but we have Sephora.
there's
Yeah.
Sephora here too. So imagine this, right? We're going to Ulta, which is Sephora Light, okay? And I'm taking my son with me, and we were going to the Ulta store, Sephora, so whatever you want to call it. And my son, he pulled me. He said, "Mommy," in a loud whisper. "You know why these ladies are here, right? They want to be sexy,
I love kids.
sexy." I said, so babe, I didn't say no to him. I said, honey, why do they want to be sexy? I said, because they want to be loved. Why is a 9-year-old making that connection, but a 25, 26, 46, 62-year-old woman's not making that kind of connection? Are you only as good as the products that are being pushed in front of you? And even if you buy as many products, it'll never be enough because they're always making you wanting more, better, and different, and you're never good enough. How can you get your confidence by looking at things that are designed to make you feel unconfident and insecure?
Yeah, 100%.
So a lot of people talk to me about, oh, I want this confidence, right? I just get the nip and the tuck and the lift and the push and
Hey, I mean, I've
and the
considered
sun.
Botox so many times, like
I mean, do your thing, girl. I'm not sitting here and telling nobody nothing,
No, no,
right?
no. No, I'm just saying I haven't done it, but I've considered it because of exactly what you're saying. I mean, unfortunately for women, we are socialized that our value comes from our beauty and our youth mainly, because, you can't have beauty without being youthful.
It's such a high cost. It's such a high cost. I think about Madonna, who's trying to defy gravity and reality simultaneously and aging. Like a trifecta of reality, aging, and gravity, all at okay. We see the resistance to reality. And if we're seeing people refusing to age gracefully, what are we to do in our 20s, 40s? Do we hop on the bandwagon and nip and tuck and cut and pull ill? I remember talking with my husband about this just the other day, and my husband was like, "Why is everybody like big asses? Kim Kardashian's got a big ass." And I'm like, is it just black folk that like big asses? And that's like, is it health? Is it to say that they're, just like their ability to like be fed well through the buttocks? And I was just laughing when he was saying it. He's comical, more comical than me. And I said, honey, her behind wasn't always that big. She got an injectables. Tell if he was a cartoon character, steam would come out of his ears at that moment. Like, you can do that? And he was like, yes, baby, you can do that. If you're sitting here and idolizing people and you're not realizing they're a work of cosmeticry,
Yeah,
then
plastic.
you plastic, there was a rapper and she was saying, yeah, I got all the injectables out. It was almost 16 ounces of fluid. I was like, I can sit better now. You're now hearing after the fact that they've gone through all that pain and the money and the expensive. This was not gold that was glittering.
No, it's a myth. It's the carrot that they dangle in front of you that's like, "Hey, one, put your attention here. Don't focus on the other things that are actually more important, but focus on this. And two, like this is your path to being happy and being successful, and it's so not the case. I understand why people follow it. I wish that they had more sense of their self-worth, like knowing that they don't need these things. If somebody is going down that path and it's simply because I just want to look beautiful and it's not at all tied to their worth, then I mean, like, hey. But I feel like for most people, it's tied to their worth. And it's just, you don't need that to be worthy or to be loved.
Well, I mean, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about how the machine of capitalism works and whether or not it's actually going to make you healthy. Those things are two disparate things. Okay. If you want to push products, you're going to have to lie, masquerade, and outright deceive people. Like, let's give a classic example. This is all we're going to come back to trauma. If I was talking with a client about this, and she was lamenting to me. I know you had a bodybuilder person that you were talking to earlier. She's like,
Mhm.
I wish when I was growing up in the 70s, they said you shouldn't be lifting anyways. And now I'm in my 50s and I'm like a big old pile of jelly. And now I've been told to lift weights. I feel like I've been deceived. I was told all this stuff. And every generation, they were feeding one thing to promote one certain thing. I remember when I was growing up, everybody was talking about drinking milk, cow milk
Yeah.
specifically. We never even questioned the dairy farmers were pumping out all those ads.
Yeah. Yep.
So why does this have to do with trauma? I want to really tie this one back in. If you've been constantly gaslit in a family where your sense of emotional, physical, financial safety was never stable, and you're sitting there watching this video about if your butt can just be lifted up 2 inches, you can get the man of your dreams. You will never question that. And you will find someone that will affirm those lies and then some. And then you will find yourself re traumatized. The gaslighting is for real. It's like levels on levels on levels on levels of gaslighting. Like, think about this. All right. Let's just say, for whatever reason, my husband drops dead. God forbid. Right. And I decide to be the cougar I've always wanted to be. I'm 43 years old. I'm going to step out with a 27-year old.
Okay.
Yes, yes, go get it. I'm going to be a cougar. Okay, so now this young man, I'll call him Andrew. Okay, he's been listening to a steady diet of Drake,
Hmm.
so he has misogynistic views.
Mm.
He believes that he could be a crypto king. Okay, so he's thinking his worth is attached to the money he makes, and on top of it, he wants to make his friends feel insecure because he doesn't feel secure in his own sense of manhood because his daddy wasn't there. Now, what if I decided I slipped and lost my damn mind and decided to step out with this young man who's
Mhm.
dealing with insecurity of his self-worth, his confidence? He doesn't know how to treat a woman properly because he never saw it modeled because there was no man figure trying to keep him in check as a man. What would it do as of a confidence of my as a woman if I had unhealed trauma wounds? I would try to nurture that little boy because he is a little boy.
Mhm. This is those patterns that we talked about, and 100% if you have already healed from trauma and you fall back into that pattern, you're gonna be re-traumatized.
I see this so many times. Just I see women saying, "Well, I'm at the certain level. My 401k took to a 201k because of crazy politicians. And I need to measure up. I need to keep up. Forget the Kardashians. I need to keep up with the McAllisters and the Baxters and all this stuff, right?" And you're not realizing that in the pursuit of trying to measure up and feel good about yourself, you're not realizing those same people are knee deep in debt,
Mhm.
that those same people have horrible relationship issues,
Mhm.
that some people are self medicating with sugar, which is alcohol, also all sorts of stuff. Swipe up, pay now. We are living in a world that wants us numb. And if you've never dealt with your trauma, you're going further down the rabbit hole.
So, Denise, where do we go from here?
Oh, where we gonna go from there? It depends on who you are, love. I don't know where we gonna go from here. I mean, for a lot of us, we just sitting there content to listen to some Mel Robbins or whoever shit. Let them be.
Uh,
Oh, it's okay. you're a hot mess. Let them be too. And I'm like, that's not the answer. Okay. That's part of the answer is to let people be and you do you. That's part of the answer. I think a lot of people just stop at that level.
Yeah.
It depends on how far you want to heal. For
Yeah.
me, the biggest thing that helped me was reclaiming my memories.
Let's talk about that. How did you do that in the
Not
first
all
place?
my memories. I ain't say all of
Okay.
them. Ain't all. Some things are better left probably in the dumpster fire in my recesses of my mind.
Huh. I hear that.
One of the things that trauma survivors do is when you have an incident that is inexplicable and you don't even lack either the words or the ability to even perceive, your brain says, shut off, and we're done. Let's just sweep this bad boy in the back room. And that's the survival mechanism.
Mhm.
Our body is flooded with stress hormones. We always talk about cortisol, right? That's just one of them, right? Adrenaline, norepinephrine. Our vagus nerve, the part that regulates our parasympathetic nervous system, says, girl gone. And, and is literally operating in reptilian mode. And all that stuff gets locked away for good reason. Because if you
Mhm.
don't have the tools, your brain doesn't want your body to completely shut down. There's parts of my life, Jess, where I don't remember when my mother raped me. I don't remember it. I remember sometimes when it afterwards, I don't remember some of the details. I've been molested many, many times from other men. Some memories is crystal clear, some are just little fragments. The point I'm trying to make is that our body is brilliant in trying to keep us survived. But when we have those memories blocked, we don't just block the memories, Jess. We also block our ability to be resilient. We block our ability to have a sense of agency, who we are, what we're capable of. We block our ability to relate to ourselves and other people with compassion and love. A lot of things get blocked when we dissociate. When I say dissociate, we're literally blocking the memory from the timeline.
Mm,
So
yeah.
when we're reclaiming that, what we're basically saying is, I'm going to walk with gentleness and compassion, not necessarily to revisit the memory, but to revisit the feelings and sensation that came around. You cannot reclaim a memory unless your body physically feels safe. And so maybe it's galloping on a horse, you yoga. I don't care what you do. There are so many different ways to start healing the body first before you start tackling the cognitive, the mind part. And for some of you ladies listening, it's going to be a lot of years. Save your money. Don't go see the shrink. Go hop on a horse. Go do some water aerobics.
That's it for today's conversation, but we're just getting started. In part two, coming this Friday, Denise and I dive even deeper into the heart of healing. We talk about generational trauma, the impact of childhood messaging, and how healing isn't a one size fits all or bound by any timeline. Denise also opens up about her personal journey through sex addiction, the many layers of trauma recovery, and how reconnecting with your dreams can be a powerful part of the process. You won't want to miss it. If you haven't already, it would mean the world to me if you subscribe. And if you learned something new or found inspiration in this episode, please leave a review and share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, take care of your body, mind, and soul.